Hello and welcome to First Class Facts. This week's First Class Fact is about the longest lived dynasty in existence. Some of you may be able to guess right off the bat what this is, but I'm here to explain it even if that is so. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready for a trip through the more than 2,500 years. When people think of an empire, they usually think of the massive imperial states like the British Empire, the French empires, or the Russian Empire. When people think of dynasties, they usually think about places like India, China, maybe even the Middle East, that have seen literally hundreds of dynasties and empires rise and fall over their lands for thousands of years, standing united once again today. Well, besides the Middle East, unfortunately. But there is another place I did not mention on that list. Can you guess it? That's right, Japan. Modern day Japan is a lot different from when it used to be just 300 years ago. In fact, the first hunter gatherers came to Japan 20,000 years ago, known as the Jomon peoples. After the Ice Age, Japan started to change. The Yayoi peoples came to Japan in about 1000 BCE, which are the descendants of 92% of all modern day Japanese. According to various sources, Japan as a nation was established in 600 BCE, starting in the Yayoi period, named after the peoples. 500 years later, the Han Chinese drove the Yamato Koreans out of their homeland and onto Japanese soil. Over the next millennia, they would slowly but surely take over, and in 1710, they formed the State of Japan. Fun fact, the State of Japan is actually the name of the current day Japanese nation. Kinda cool. This new state would continue to expand for a long while, capitals changing occasionally but staying close to modern day Kyoto. This trend would continue further until 1156, when Japan was slightly changed due to further clan rivalries, eventually leading to a full-scale war between two factions, the revolutionaries coming out on top. After their victory, Japan was reorganized, becoming more decentralized but keeping loyal to the central authority. A shogun was also introduced, leading the military, controlling taxes, things like that. Even though they were appointed by the emperor, they had almost equal power within the state. Shortly after this reformation, the Mongol Empire came knocking on Japan's door. They tried and failed to invade twice, mainly because of the ferocious storms known as kamikaze, saving the islands. The Mongols would continue to ravage other parts of Eurasia that were connected by land. In 1331, a schism occurred between the emperor and the shogun, dividing Japan into two entities, the northern and southern courts. After the emperor tried and failed to reassert control over the country. Finally, after years of separation, the two courts unified once again into another state of Japan in 1392. This unified state continued along its journey, having been visited by Europeans by sea for the first time in 1542, opening up some small colonies on the southern coast. Shortly afterwards, in 1566, yet another revolution erupted. Amid this chaos, Spain opened up their own colony on the southern coast in 1584, and by 1590, the Civil War concluded. Only 1 year after the war ended, the newly reformed Japan went to war with Korea, being extremely successful at first until the Ming Dynasty came along and destroyed the Japanese army, forcing them to give up after an extended occupation of the South. After the war, more European countries came and took advantage of the situation to set up their own trading posts along the southern coast, like England, Russia, and the Netherlands. This led to disputes with Russia over the Kuril Islands and Sakhalin in the north during the Edo period, prompting even more countries to set up outposts along the coast. Fed up with this, a new emperor came to power and started yet another revolution, this time to bring Japan under a single ruler once and for all. In just 4 short years, Japan was brought under the dictatorship of Emperor Meiji, abolishing the shogun, building the foundations of Imperial Japan that we might encounter along later. After kicking out foreigners from the coasts, the emperor focused on rapid industrialization and militarization, starting a series of conquests. First, the Kuril Islands, then Korea, Taiwan, Port Arthur, and South Sakhalin. After these conquests, a new emperor took the throne, Taisho. That might actually be... never mind. I'm getting a bit off topic here. Sorry about that. He continued conquests of Pacific Islands and intervened in the Russian Civil War, then started yet another war with the now Republic of China, handing the throne over to Hirohito, the third and final dictator in Imperial Japan. A few years later, Japan entered World War II on the side of the Axis. Unfortunately, this was a fatal move for the empire, and within a few years, all the hard work and dedication of the Japanese were undone. After being nuked twice, the only nation to be nuked in a war. I will not be controversial about it, so I'll just move on. After the devastation in the Second World War, Japan was in a horrible place. The economy was in ruins. Heavy bombing destroyed a ton of vital infrastructure, and they had no way of defending themselves from outside threats due to the abolishment of any standing forces, let alone the massive depression of prestige. However, against all odds, the land of the rising sun rose again from the east, growing to become the second largest economy on Earth and have one of the highest standards of living anywhere in the world, second to Hong Kong. It may not have the best demographics or the booming economy it once had in the 1980s or 90s, but Japan is certainly still a world power. Now that I have gone through about every aspect of Japanese history, you may want to know exactly how long this dynasty has been around, considering that's what this video is called. And you already know that it is the longest living dynasty on Earth. So let's do the math. If Japan was established in 600 BCE, and it is currently 2021, how long would that be? It would be, drumroll please, 2,621 years. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was your first class fact for this week. I'm sorry, I was actually supposed to do this last week on Friday, but I never really got around to it because I was busy over the weekend, and yeah, I'm actually starting a new course this summer so I can reach ahead for high school, so I might be a bit busy, but I'll still try my best to do it once a week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Matthew Skripek, and I'll see you next time.